Hey everybody, welcome back to another film of the week. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content channel as of late, and we are doing once again another horror-based. Seems as if we are going to be pushing towards the Stephen King month. I've just been doing two Stephen King films, and now I guess we're just going to make it Stephen King month. Since I've pretty much have dedicated half the month to doing Stephen King films, I figured just to continue in that trend. So here we are, but at least with this one, I have not seen the specific film until now. The other two films were supposed to be backups to other films that I was planning on seeing, but just never got around to checking them out. So we're just making this a Stephen King month. So excuse me if you also hear my cat in the background just eating. She's just having lunch right now. But I just got done watching this for the very first time, and again fits within our Stephen King month as it is just naturally become. So we're going to talk about this film. So this film that we're going to be talking about is Misery, which was directed by Rob Reiner, who, if I look real quick, notably directed, he sounds familiar, would go on to direct A Few Good Men after this, as well as a couple of films here and there, but most notably A Few Good Men. And previously, the year before directing Misery, he would direct When Harry Met Sally. So, and Stand By Me, of course, which is another notable Stephen King adaptation that he has adapted. Um, so this is his second crack at a Stephen King novel. This one being titled Misery. This was a novel released in 1987, so about 3 years. Pretty early turnaround for this specific adaptation. And this stars James Caan as Paul Sheldon, who is a very famous author and has written a series of novels entitled Misery, and title plays on that. And he is in the midst of writing his next book, and what appears to be a finale to the novels, as the character of Misery is looking to be killed off, and he's focusing up on his writing. And while driving out, because he's in like a secluded area and he's like in that artsy fartsy type mindset where he needs seclusion. He needs his own space in order to craft the best stories possible for said characters and blah blah blah. And he's up in a snowy mountain area, and he goes down, driving down to probably like the town or whatever, because they don't quite say where he's traveling to at the beginning, but I presume he's just traveling down to like the little town or whatever like that. And snow falls and blizzard starts to form heavily, and it causes him to not see the road clearly, and he crashes. And he's very badly injured. He can't walk, and a woman specifically, named Annie Welks, I believe that's her name, who's played by Kathy Bates. She helps him out and brings him to her house, and at first seems welcoming and kind and all that sort of stuff. And slowly but surely, what we get to see is something fairly sinister and something more disturbing lurking underneath this identity of Annie Welks, who on the outside may seem all kind and all that sort of stuff, but really is actually something a lot more dangerous than Paul could ever anticipate. So what you get in the film Misery, thematically speaking, is something fairly pretty, just pretty apparent, which is the idea, of course, about obsessions and about, our toll, that pull, that hold that obsessions have on an individual, and what it may in fact turn them into, and the sort of dilemma that may be spawned from that sort of mindset if it were to be the other person that person is obsessed with to be, to meet or to interact with such an individual. And it seems, if it sounds incredibly frank and incredibly just standard, it pretty much summarizes my feeling of the film itself, because there isn't really an underbelly to what's being conducted here outside of just what I've just mentioned, is about this very, very frank idea about obsession and the study of it. And I think that what you get largely is just a film that operates with that sort of idea and doesn't really look to study or find any other wrinkles to really give the film a better portrait or more of a sense of dimension. Because it's very frank in its setup. Like, you know exactly what is happening in the first, like, 15 or 20 minutes. You know exactly what's happening, not to mention that the acting itself is fairly on the nose, and you can summarize, you can see what is at stake once you see the performances play out, specifically Kathy Bates, where you can see what's happening underneath. Like, it's it's very obvious, and within its obviousness, there's also a redundancy within the structure, and you pick up on beats that are just kind of playing of the same sort of rhythms, where it's like it seems calm, and then it's supposed to be fearful, calm, fearful, calm, fearful, calm, fearful. It's like it has this redundant like quality, and it's never at any point fearful or tense or anything of that sort because of just again how frank everything is and how just knowing of information and knowing of how this sort of setup will probably meet its conclusion. Um, and I just wish that there was more to the film because there just really isn't outside of just that. And it seems fairly influenced, weirdly enough, by The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's film specifically, within certain parameters, certain visual not things, narrative threads. The typewriter kind of echoes that, and a person like this, the like a secondary plot that happens outside of The Shining. With our a person trying to return to the Overlook house and eventually meeting their demise at the hands of our main antagonist. Very similar thing happens here, where we have a sheriff who is like investigating the whereabouts of where this author is lying, and then eventually, blah 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 blah. So I just think that what you get in Misery is something not as distinct or as flavorful as other adaptations have in the past. With films like The Shining, The Green Mile, other pieces. I think that there is just more obviously, as we discussed. Um, I just feel like that this doesn't have a lot of flavor, and it just relies upon a very specific idea, one thematic purpose, and it just is again way too frank, way too knowing, and really makes the whole like it feels something that could be told in 30 minutes because it feels uh what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like it feels stretched. It feels like as if things are just trying to find ways to keep the situation intact, like when our character's trying to escape this environment and things prevent him from doing so. Those things act as like almost like barriers in the script and not necessarily in how a situation like this would actually play out, you know. The sort of just like like uh like bad luck it almost seems when those sort of things happen. But yeah, I didn't find much in Misery. I found it to be just very, 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 very surface, and I think that a lot of the just just I feel like there's a navigation. I'm curious if the story, the actual book, is as surface or if there is more into the story because like I just feel as though that they took the template or the actual just synopsis of that book and then just rode with that and didn't decide to go any further. And there's an odd comedic undertone to the film as well, which I found to be very strange. I don't understand, quite frankly, why it's there. It feels as though it's just just there, just an attempt to give the film color, but it just really doesn't. And if anything, it just makes it um, more stale in terms of overall taste. But yeah, I didn't find much in Misery outside of just the obvious, the knowing, the stuff that we are, you know, the stuff that we are told about. There's nothing more to the film outside of that, and I wish there was. And I think that the performances are a bit too stale for my taste, a bit too artificial. It just seems as though that they are just given a description, and that literal description, like the description is just literally the performance. And I don't like when performances feel like a description. I want performances to feel as natural as possible, and I just don't feel that these performances were natural in any respect, especially Kathy Bates. I understand, what is up with her character. Like, it's not a secret. There's no real secrets to Misery as a film, and it kind of rides with a presumption that there is some secrets that you can find, and there really isn't, except small details about certain characters that really just don't add much, except just a little bit more detail to what is all pretty knowing, to what is just the bigger picture. Like, the problem with Misery, I guess, to summarize, is that the big picture, the ideas that the film is wishing to discuss, is very much just in your face. And anything else that the film wishes to decipher or wishes to explore just feels mood. It doesn't feel like it does anything except just pad it out or give a little more details to what we have already known and expected. So yeah, I just, like I said, don't really find much. I don't really find much outside of just, again, what I already know, and that knowledge is never subverted throughout the entire runtime. It pretty much is just absolutely just solidified, and that's to me a big issue. So I wish there was more, but there just really isn't, and because of that, I just found myself honestly a little bored, a bit, in some respects, a kind of mocking in some extent, because some things happen and it just feels exaggerative, a bit just out of place, and like, yeah. So yeah, just a very knowing type film, and I wish that it wasn't that way. I wish that there was just something that can keep you invested throughout its runtime, but what it tells you is all that it is going to tell you. There's nothing more buried underneath, and that's very unfortunate. So those are my thoughts on Misery. I didn't really care. It's not anything that noteworthy. I think it's very stale. I think it's very one-dimensional, and again, just incredibly frank and incredibly just knowing. And I really wish it wasn't that. And I'm curious if the book is like that. You guys, let me know. Is the book padding with any, like, is there any more dimensions or more ideas that the book has, or is that this just literally the idea? Because it's pretty just dry. So I don't know, but you guys will know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to Misery, if you guys have seen it. I know it's a pretty well liked adaptation, but just just didn't really do much for me. But you guys will know your thoughts on Misery if you guys have seen it or have read it in the comment section below, and your thoughts on Stephen King, your favorite Stephen King adaptations, or your favorite books if you guys have read a lot of his books. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.